Hey, this series is going to be my documentation of learning malware analysis. The two resources that I'm going to use are the book Practical Malware Analysis and the course provided by RPISec. To keep the video short, I will just walk through certain questions from each lab in a chapter, but try and emphasize the lessons that should have been learned from the chapters. I posted a link to the download for all the tools that will be needed throughout the series. This video will go over the things I learned in basic static analysis. The topics that I learned in the chapter include fingerprinting the malware, packed malware, link libraries, and also finding strings in the malware. One of the first things we may be interested in when conducting malware analysis is determining when the malware was compiled. We can do that using a tool called PEView. This allows us to view details about the file's header. If we open up Lab 1 from the book, we can click on the Headers tab, and then the image file header. Here we can see the timestamp of this executable. We can see that this specific file was compiled in 2010. But it should also be noted that this timestamp can easily be manipulated with. If we open up Lab 4 and browse to the timestamp, we can see that it says it was compiled in 2019. This date has been manipulated to prevent people from seeing the actual date it was made. Another thing that I learned was determining if the file was packed. Malware authors pack their files to make it more difficult to detect or analyze. When a file is packed, it is compressed and cannot be analyzed. If we open up Lab 2, one of the first things we notice is UPX 0, 1, and 2 next to the image section header. This is one of the first indications that this file may be packed using UPX. If we look to the right, we can examine the virtual size and the size of the raw data of each section. Another indication that this file may be packed is if the virtual size and raw data are very different in any of the sections here. We can see that the virtual size is 4000, but the raw data size is 0. This is indicating that it may very well be packed. We can confirm that the file is packed by using a tool called PEID. If we load the file into PEID, we can see that it is saying that this file has been packed using UPX version 1.25. We can actually use UPX to unpack this file. If we browse to the file using the command line, we can run the command UPX tacd and then the file name to unpack it. Now that we have unpacked the file, if we open the file now, we can see that UPX has gone next to the image section header. We can now see the correct sections of the file. And we can also see that it no longer displays 0 as a raw data size in the sections. Another thing that we can find out looking through file headers by using PEView is the functions that the file imports. Imports are functions used by one program but are stored in a different program. By looking at the imports, we can get a good idea of the program's functionality. In the imports for kernel32.dll, we can see the functions create file, find first file, find next file, and copy file. These functions are good indicators that the malware can search through our file system and modify files. The msvcrt.dll does not have any interesting imports. Finally, we can use strings to determine other useful information about the malware. We can use that to answer the question what host or network-based indicators could be used to identify the malware on infected machines. Running strings should always be done when reverse engineering because it can give a lot of useful information about the program. Like I mentioned before, if the malware is packed or obfuscated, you will not see much in the strings view. If we open up Lab 2 using strings, we can see a lot of information that we saw in the file header. But something that pops out and is new is mal service and the URL www.malwareanalysisbook.com. This could be very useful in determining if someone is infected by this malware by looking for a service called mal service or network traffic to that URL. And if we open up Lab 4 using strings, like before, we can see information from the file's header. But towards the bottom, we can see the strings system32/wpd_mgr.exe and the URL malwareanalysisbook.com/updater.exe. The string wpd_mgr.exe may indicate that this file may store something at that location or modify something there. The URL may indicate where this malware goes to download more files or updates. Those are the things that I learned from the first chapter. I did gloss over some things, so I would highly recommend getting the book and going through the labs on your own. In the next video, I will be going over basic dynamic analysis. Thanks for watching.